welcome to another episode of I Have a Problem. My name is Joshua Galbraith, and I have a problem. Today, I wanted to talk to y'all about clothes, specifically getting rid of clothes. And I know that's a little bit counterintuitive because this is supposed to be a fashion advice show, but sometimes the best fashion advice is less fashion. Anecdotally, and probably also scientifically, we have too much clothes. If you look at the state of TikTok, Instagram, YouTube fashion content, you don't have to go too far without seeing like a haul video or like a get ready with me or pickups for the season video. And there's nothing wrong with those. I don't want to put it into the air that there's something wrong with doing those videos. I'm just making this point to underline how much of the content is driven around just buying stuff. As we all know, this is kind of a problem. Fashion is the number 2 polluter behind oil, yada, yada, yada. The chemicals in the clothes leach into the groundwater, then everyone dies, so on and so forth. Something apocalyptic. I'm not here to talk about that. That is a much bigger problem that I think laying at one person's feet is just a little bit insane. I'm here to talk about the individual clothing, the individual wardrobe, and what that means for you. Philosophical musings aside, like what can we do about large amounts of clothing or getting rid of it? Now, I'm not an idiot enough to the point that I think that I'm the first person to get online and tell people to audit their closets. I'm sure that this video has been done 800 different ways till Sunday. I'm simply showing you how I do it and what works for me. Stop me if this sounds familiar. You get a hit up from one of your friends saying, hey, let's go out, let's go do something. And you're thinking, I'm about to get a fit off. Like, you just know. You know there's going to be like some Z-list blue check in the wild or something that has a camera, is going to take a picture of you. And that's the fit that's going to do numbers. You know it, beyond a shadow of a doubt. So, of course, you go to your wardrobe and you start looking through everything. And immediately you're just frozen because there's just too much shit. There just is. And nothing really fits right. Nothing really goes together. Everything is whack, despite you having all the clothes in North America. Needless to say, you do not get a fit off, and you spend the entire night hugging the wall out of sheer embarrassment. If we're really thinking about it, having too much clothes is a pretty easy problem to have. Most of us, as we go through life, we undergo style changes that represent where we are currently. The problem is when we hold on to the clothes from previous style eras or phases that we went through, eventually we just have this weird eldritch horror of a monster of clothes in our closet and not really any way to tame it. In my experience, I've always had an easier time making choices when I didn't have that many to pick from. Alvin Toffler, a guy who actually did research on this, he first wrote about this in his book Future Shock, which came out in the 1970s. He outlined that having too many options would eventually create regret and disappointment with your final choice, because when you pick one thing, now all of a sudden you're thinking about all the different possibilities and the what ifs and the various timelines that would have branched off from the one nexus point of the bad decision that you made once. So it's actually better to have fewer decisions that you can actually look at and comprehend and not get overwhelmed by. I like to do my clothing audits in 3 parts: inventory and categorization, then selection, and then offloading. So let's start from the beginning. Inventory and categorization are going to be the most straightforward parts in this process. And let's just start with number 1, inventory. Take everything that you have and just lay it out somewhere. It can be in an unorganized pile. It can be in a neat stack. You can turn everything into some kind of sculpture. It really doesn't matter. Just get it out there so you can see it. Once you have everything laid out, the next step is to categorize them. This is pretty straightforward, but if you're having trouble, don't worry. I would suggest going to the Essence website. It's essentially like the Macy's of luxury e-commerce sites, and they have a lot of different brands and therefore a lot of different categorizations and subcategorizations that you can kind of pull from for your own uses. Once that's done, it's time to figure out what's staying and what's going. I generally have 2 different ways that I like to go about this. The first way, if the first 2 steps in our process sounded familiar, then this first method will also sound familiar because I took all of them from the same place, Marie Kondo. Marie Kondo is a consultant who got famous for organizing, proving that there really are no such thing as like a fake job. The only fake job that you can have is the one that people don't pay you for. So she was smart enough to parlay her knowledge of organizing into a full media empire, and she is now rolling in absolute dough. The method that Kondo proposes is called KonMari. And essentially, after you organize and categorize everything, you're supposed to look at all the pieces individually and decide if they spark joy. I think that this is a good way of doing things, albeit just a little bit subjective. Joy is hard to describe for each person, but I think that we can pull our own meanings from it. For me, I like to use this as my benchmark. If when I'm buying clothes, I, at the very least, don't kind of feel like this, I know that I probably shouldn't be making that purchase. Now, this isn't to say that like a pair of boxers or socks should produce the same kind of like euphoric feeling as buying like a new coat or a pair of boots or something, but you take my meaning. If the sparking joy method is a little bit too conceptual for you and you need something a bit more concrete, try using this second method. What I like to do sometimes is if I'm looking at a piece, if I can't put together 3 or 4 outfits with it that will go with something else already in my closet, I don't buy it. This is because I have seen a lot of clothes, and in that time I have always become obsessed, like almost yearly, with a random piece. And generally speaking, it's not something I should buy, but I end up buying it anyways. Earlier this year, I believe it was a pair of these 2000s ass Bottega Veneta sunglasses. Last year, it was the Gucci Gazelle Adidas's with the monogram print on them. And the year before that, it was a pair of white leather Guidi boots, I believe. Now, all 3 of these pieces by themselves, there's nothing wrong with them. But for my closet, they don't really fit. And in my head, I was thinking about a very specific outfit that I would wear them with. And once I got that fit off, there was really nothing else to do with those pieces. The only place to go was down, and I ended up selling all of them pretty much less than a year after buying them, which is terrible. So to keep my wallet and my tenuous grip on reality intact, I try to deploy this method whenever I'm questioning, should I buy that thing or should I not? Okay, great. So now we have organized everything, we've categorized everything, and we've even picked what we are going to keep and what we're not going to keep. All that's left is a small matter of offloading all the stuff that we're getting rid of. Now, you have 2 options here. You can sell the clothes or you can donate the clothes. I suggest selling if you have clothes that have resale value. If you have to question if your clothes have resale value, they don't. Most people whose clothes have resale value also have problems like I do and have lost the plot completely, spending thousands of dollars on clothes. So it's within, the realm of reason that you would see some kind of return on this. You aren't going to make your money back. And I think gone are the days of selling something super high after buying it low. My advice would be when someone sends you an offer, if it's not disrespectful, like, a complete lowball, just take it. You holding out for that extra $50 or $100 probably won't happen. Although, if you have the time and you also don't really need the money, you can stick around because I've made some decent sales based off of just patience alone. People come in with low balls. They think they can get it for lower. But if I stick to my guns, usually you only need the one person. However, if you are a well-adjusted member of society who makes good fiscal decisions, then maybe selling is not for you. Most likely, you will have a closet that will need to be donated. This, of course, is not ideal as, yes, I understand that most donated clothes, or at least some of them, too many of them, we'll say, will find their way to a landfill at some point in their life cycle. This, of course, is bad, but there's not really much we can do about it. So if you're selling your clothes, I like to go to one of a few places: Grailed, Vestiaire Collective, or good old reliable eBay. The reason Grailed, Vestiaire, and eBay are my top 3 is because these are the platforms I've had the most success on. If you've had more success on Depop or The Real or Poshmark, feel free to use those instead. All of these platforms, they have different seller fees that they charge you. And I know Grailed by heart because I use it a lot. It's 9%. But a lot of the other ones, and I'll post them up, have a weird matrix of charts and graphs that denote what you will be getting when you sell something on their website. Now, if you are going to donate them, there's a few places that you can go. Obviously, most states will have a Goodwill or Salvation Army to speak of. And if they don't have that, usually any vintage store in the area will take the donations, or maybe they'll even buy them from you as long as they're in season. I hope that this has been somewhat helpful if you were looking to reduce the amount of clothes in your closet. Next time on the show, I'm thinking that we could talk about something a little bit more interesting. I don't know, like color theory or something. Until then, I'm Joshua Galbraith. This has been I Have a Problem, and I Have a Problem. Thank you, and goodbye.